In the middle of a dying star system, silence filled the void. Broken ships drifted like dead whales among glowing debris. Fires burned without air. The war between humans and the Dominion had ended. At least that's what everyone thought. From the shadows of a shattered moon, one last human ship floated, damaged, bleeding smoke, and barely alive. The Solace. Its engines flickered weakly, its hull torn open like paper. Around it, hundreds of alien warships gathered, weapons ready. The alien commander, Varen of the Dominion, stood tall inside his command bridge. His golden armor reflected the light of the dying sun. He looked at the human ship with cold amusement. "End this," he ordered. "No survivors." "Humanity is finished," his officers laughed. For years, humans had been a small, stubborn species and too emotional, too reckless. They were considered weak by the rest of the galaxy. And now, finally, the Dominion would erase them completely. But before the order was carried out, a voice echoed through every comm channel. It was calm, human. "This is Captain Mara Solace of the Solace. We surrender, but we request permission to help your wounded." The alien bridge fell silent. Commander Varen's eyes narrowed. "What did she say?" "She said they surrender," one officer muttered, confused. "And they want to help our wounded?" Laughter broke across the bridge. "Help us after all they've done?" But on the human ship, something unexpected was happening. Inside the Solace, alarms screamed. Medics rushed through narrow corridors carrying crates of supplies. The ship's doctor, Lieutenant Hayes, looked at Captain Mara with disbelief. "Ma'am, you can't be serious," he said. "They tried to kill us. Our ship's dying. We don't even have enough supplies for our own crew." Mara's voice was steady. "We don't leave anyone behind. Not even them." Outside, human shuttles launched from the broken ship, small, glowing pods moving through the wreckage toward the alien fleet. On the Dominion flagship, Varen watched in shock as those pods ignored the danger, flying directly into the burning wrecks of his own ships. "What are they doing?" an officer whispered. "Saving our soldiers," Varen answered softly, his eyes narrowing. "Madness." The first pod landed on a half-destroyed Dominion cruiser. Human medics stepped into the smoke-filled corridors, coughing, pulling alien soldiers from the wreckage. They didn't ask for thanks. They didn't even speak the same language. They just worked, quietly, fast, desperate to save lives. One human medic found an alien soldier pinned under metal. The alien hissed in fear, expecting death. But the human gently placed a hand on his chest and said, "Easy. I've got you." The alien didn't understand the word, but he understood the tone. Kindness. More Dominion ships began to open their airlocks. They let the human medics in. Soon, across the entire battlefield, the sound of blasters stopped. The silence was replaced by something no one expected: cooperation. By the end of the day, over 300 Dominion soldiers were saved, by humans who had every reason to hate them. In the council chambers of the Dominion, the news spread quickly. Every broadcast across the galaxy showed the same image: human medics helping wounded aliens. One news anchor said it simply: "The humans surrendered, but they won the galaxy's heart." Billions of beings watched in disbelief. Races who once hated humanity began to question what they had been told. Commander Varen stood alone in his quarters, watching the recording of the battle. His hands shook slightly. He remembered the human captain's voice, calm, soft, full of mercy. He had seen bravery before. He had seen strength, but this was something different. His first officer entered. "Commander, the High Council demands a report." "What should we tell them?" Varen turned, his voice low. "Tell them the truth. The humans didn't fight us with guns. They fought us with hearts," the officer frowned. "Hearts?" "Yes," Varen said. "And that is far more dangerous." Weeks passed. Across the galaxy, strange things began to happen. Dominion soldiers who had been saved by humans started speaking in their defense. Refugees from conquered worlds asked to join human colonies. On distant planets, children played games pretending to be the kind humans. Empires that ruled through fear began to feel something new: doubt. The High Council called an emergency meeting. 12 alien leaders sat in a dark chamber under cold lights. One of them slammed his fist on the table. "They are turning the galaxy against us." "Not with weapons, with compassion." Another hissed, "If this continues, no one will obey the Dominion again." The eldest counselor leaned forward, his voice like stone. Then we must teach the humans a lesson. Make the galaxy see their mercy as weakness. A hush fell over the room. For the first time in centuries, the rulers of the stars were afraid, because they realized something terrifying. Humans didn't need power to win. They only needed compassion, and compassion was spreading faster than any war. Far away aboard the Solace, Captain Mara looked out at the stars. Her ship was still broken, her crew tired and wounded. Dr. Hayes walked up beside her. "We saved their people," he said quietly. "Do you think it'll change anything?" Mara smiled faintly. "Maybe not today," she said. But kindness has a way of echoing, even in the cold of space. Outside, among the silent stars, human rescue pods floated, small lights in endless darkness, and across the galaxy, those lights began to grow, because the universe had seen something new that day, something more powerful than fear, more dangerous than any weapon. It had seen human compassion, and it would never forget it. Across the galaxy, whispers began to rise, quiet at first, then spreading like fire. In alien marketplaces, in mining stations and starports floating above dying worlds, people spoke of one story. They spoke of humans. "They saved the enemy," one alien said. "They gave food to those who tried to kill them," another whispered. Maybe humans aren't weak. Maybe there's something else. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy wasn't talking about the Dominion or their victories. It was talking about compassion, about mercy, about the strange, emotional species from the small blue planet called Earth. But in the dark halls of the Dominion capital, the leaders didn't whisper. They shouted. Inside the High Council chamber, 12 alien rulers sat around a long, glowing table. Holograms of the recent battle flickered in the air. Humans pulling Dominion soldiers from wreckage, sharing oxygen, tending to the wounded. The eldest counselor, a cold creature with glassy eyes named Jalor, slammed his claw on the table. "This cannot continue," he growled. "The galaxy looks at us like monsters and them like saints," another member hissed, "because they fooled everyone. It's all an act." But Commander Varen, standing silently near the center, said nothing. He had seen it himself, humans risking their lives for his soldiers. That memory burned deep inside him. Jalor turned toward him. "Commander Varen, you were there. Tell us, and why did they do it?" Varen hesitated. "They said, because it was right." "Right?" Another counselor spat. "They destroy worlds, then play heroes. It's manipulation." "No," Varen said quietly. "They could have left us to die." "But they didn't. I think they meant it." The chamber fell silent. Then Jalor's voice turned sharp. "Then perhaps they are more dangerous than we thought." Far away, deep in the Dominion spy division, a secret meeting began. An agent named Kael'tor stood before his superiors. His eyes were sharp, his armor black and smooth. He had served the Dominion his entire life. Loyal, efficient, cold. "Your mission," his commander said, "is to go to the human colonies. Find out how they turn compassion into control. Learn their weakness." Kael'tor nodded. "And if I find no weakness, then create one." Weeks later, Kael'tor arrived on the edge of human space disguised as a traitor. He had expected to see military bases, patrols, weapons. Instead, he saw something else. Human colonies were different. They weren't built like fortresses. They were open, full of gardens and schools. Alien refugees lived beside humans working together. In the streets, children of 10 different species played with human kids, laughing. Everywhere Kael'tor went, he saw the same thing. Kindness. Simple, quiet, constant kindness. In a small town on the colony of New Terra, he saw a human woman kneel beside a sick alien child. She offered medicine and a smile. Kael'tor frowned. "Why help them?" he asked her. "They are not your kind." The woman looked up. "Because no one helped us once," she said. "We remember what it feels like." Those words hit him like a pulse through his chest. He didn't answer. That night, Kael'tor sent his first report to the Dominion. Observation. Humans act kind without reason. They gain nothing. They help even when it costs them. It is not strategy. It is nature. The reply came minutes later. Unacceptable conclusion. Continue investigation. Compassion must serve a purpose. Kael'tor stared at the message for a long time. Then he deleted it. Days turned into weeks. The more time he spent among humans, the more confused he became. They fought sometimes, argued, struggled, yet always came back together. He saw humans forgive thieves, heal strangers, and protect the weak. He began keeping a small notebook. In it, he wrote, "Humans build faster than others, but not cities. They build trust." One evening, he stood by the river outside the colony. Captain Mara Solis, the same woman who had surrendered her ship, was there too. She recognized him, the quiet trader who asked too many questions. "You're not really here to trade, are you?" she asked softly. Kael'tor froze. "What makes you think that?"
"Your eyes," she said.
"You look like someone trying to understand, no?" The night sky above New Terra was peaceful and too peaceful. Stars shimmered softly, hiding the danger that was already moving toward them. Kael'tor stood on the edge of a cliff, looking over the colony below. Lights from the human settlement glowed like fireflies, warm and alive. He had never seen a place like this. It was not built for power or control. It was built for belonging. And for the first time in his life, Kael'tor wished he belonged there too. He had come to spy, to find a weakness in humanity. But now, after weeks among them, he couldn't stop thinking about what he'd seen. He saw humans giving food to refugees from 10 different races. He saw them cry for strangers. He saw them rebuild homes that weren't even theirs, and he couldn't forget Captain Mara Solis, the woman who had once surrendered her ship just to save her enemies. Her calm voice, her unshakable mercy haunted his thoughts. He whispered to himself, "Why do they care so much? Even when it hurts them?" That question burned in his mind as he walked through the colony the next morning. Children ran past him, alien and human together, laughing as they chased small drones through the street. An old human mechanic named Eli Graves worked nearby, repairing a broken shuttle. When he saw Kael'tor watching, he grinned. "Need something, friend?" he asked. Kael'tor hesitated. "I'm trying to understand your people," Eli chuckled. "Aren't we all?" He wiped grease from his hands and leaned against the ship. "What's confusing you?" "You help everyone," Kael'tor said slowly. "Even those who once hurt you." "Why?" Eli's smile faded. He looked at the ground for a long moment. Then he said, "Because once we hurt ourselves." He pointed to the sky. "Before we ever reached the stars, humans nearly ended everything. We fought wars that burned our own world. For power, for pride, for nothing. When it was over, there wasn't much left, just ashes and regret." He looked back at Kael'tor. "So when we met others out here, we swore we'd never do that again. We decided compassion would be our weapon, and believe me," he smiled sadly, "it's stronger than any gun." Kael'tor stood silent. His chest felt heavy. He had been trained to believe mercy was weakness, but these humans made it look like strength. That night he opened his encrypted communicator. A cold voice answered. "Report, Agent Kael'tor, what have you learned?" He hesitated. "Humans are not using compassion as strategy. It comes from something deeper, memory, pain. They remember what hate costs." The voice snapped. "Enough philosophy. We asked for weakness." Kael'tor closed his eyes. "Then I have bad news. Their weakness may also be their power." Static filled the line. Then the voice turned sharp. "Return immediately. You've been compromised." The signal cut. Kael'tor stared at the dark screen, feeling the truth sink in. They knew. His time was over. The Dominion would send someone else now, someone who didn't hesitate. At dawn, alarms blared across New Terra. Unidentified ships approaching. Mara Solis ran to the command tower, her voice steady but tense. "How many?" 30 warships. Dominion signature." The humans scrambled to evacuate civilians. Defense systems powered up, though everyone knew they were outmatched. New Terra wasn't a fortress. It was a home. Kael'tor pushed through the chaos and reached Mara. "They're not coming to conquer," he said quickly. "They're coming to erase you." Mara met his eyes. "You knew this was coming." "Yes," he said quietly. "They sent me to find your weakness." "And?" she asked. "I found your secret instead." Outside, the first Dominion ships entered orbit. They began firing before the humans could respond. Explosions lit the sky. Human medics rushed to protect civilians. Firefighters and volunteers, humans and aliens together, worked side by side. Even under attack, they saved lives. Kael'tor couldn't believe what he saw. "You're being slaughtered," he said. And you still help them? Mara gave a bitter smile. That's what we do. She turned to her officers. Begin transmission. Send this to every channel in the galaxy. Moments later, her voice echoed across the stars. This is Captain Mara Solis of New Terra. We are under attack, but we will not stop helping those in need. Compassion will not die here. The signal reached thousands of worlds. It was short but powerful. And something strange happened. People began to respond. Across the galaxy, ships started moving. Civilian ships, medical vessels, refugee carriers. They were not human ships, but they carried humans' allies, the ones who had once been enemies. When they heard New Terra was under attack, they didn't stay silent. They came to help. Commander Varen, watching from his Dominion flagship, saw the feed. His claws clenched. She's doing it again, he whispered. Turning enemies into friends, his second-in-command hissed. Orders, Commander? He looked out at the burning world below. Hold your fire. What? Sir, that's treason. Varen's eyes glowed. Maybe, but if compassion is treason, then I am guilty. On the surface, Kyle, Tor, and Mara led rescue operations through the smoke. Buildings burned, but the people refused to give up. A wounded Dominion soldier was pulled from the rubble. He grabbed Mara's arm weakly. Why save me? He gasped. Mara just said, because someone has to stop the cycle. Tears welled in the alien's eyes. Not from pain, but from something new. By the end of the day, the battle stopped. Not because one side won, but because no one wanted to keep fighting. Dominion soldiers began disobeying orders, helping the wounded instead of killing. The Dominion fleet pulled back, confused and divided. News spread again, faster than ever. Humans saved their attackers. Kale Tor sat by the fire that night watching survivors sleep around him. He finally understood the truth, the human secret. They didn't fight wars to win. They fought them to remind others how to be alive. When Mara sat beside him, he turned to her quietly. They'll come again. They won't stop. I know, she said softly. But neither will we. Kale Tor looked up at the stars, the same stars that once guided his missions. And for the first time, he didn't feel like an agent of the Dominion. He felt human. Far away in the Dominion's dark palace, Jalor watched the reports with fury. Mercy, he hissed. They use it to destroy us. He raised a trembling claw. If compassion is their weapon, then we'll make the galaxy fear it. His words echoed in the shadows, a promise of the nightmare to come. The purge of mercy had begun. The stars above New Terra were still scarred from the last battle. Broken ships drifted like silent ghosts, and burned wreckage glowed faintly in the dark. But the colony still stood, wounded but alive. Humans and aliens worked side by side to rebuild. Fires were out, shelters repaired, and children laughed again. It seemed like peace had returned, but far away in the Dominion's capital, another storm was rising. Inside the High Council chamber, 12 shadows gathered once more. The air was cold and heavy with rage. In the center, a hologram of Captain Mara Solis stood tall, her voice echoing from her famous broadcast. We will not stop helping those in need. Compassion will not die here. When the recording ended, silence fell. Then Jalor, the eldest counselor, slammed his claw against the table. She turns our soldiers into traitors. Even our commanders disobey. Reports flickered on the holographic screen. Entire Dominion units refusing orders. Fleets abandoning battles to join human-led rescues. Another counselor hissed. Compassion is spreading like a disease. Jalor's eyes glowed red. Then we will cure it. He leaned forward, voice low and cruel. We will make the galaxy fear human mercy. Burn their colonies. Erase every place that helped them. Make compassion something people are too afraid to show. The room fell silent. No one dared speak against him. The purge of mercy had begun. Days later, across the galaxy, Dominion fleets moved quietly through the stars. They didn't target human warships. They targeted hospitals, refugee centers, and aid worlds. The first to fall was Haven 6, a medical planet where humans treated wounded from every race. When the Dominion arrived, they broadcast a single message. Mercy ends today. Then they fired. Billions watched in horror as the peaceful world burned. No military, no defense, and only healers and civilians. The galaxy cried out in shock, but fear silenced them. Helping humans now meant death. On New Terra, Captain Mara received the transmission. The screen showed flames, screaming civilians, and the Dominion emblem hovering over the destruction. Her fists clenched. "They're not attacking armies anymore," she said quietly. "They're attacking kindness itself." Beside her, Kael'tor looked broken. "They're trying to make people afraid of compassion." "They won't succeed," Mara said. "Not while we're still breathing." She turned to her crew. "Send every ship we have. We're going to evacuate as many as we can." Lieutenant Hayes protested. "Ma'am, we're outnumbered 10-1. "I know," she said, her voice calm. "But that never stopped us before." Their fleet jumped through hyperspace. Just a few human ships and some volunteers from alien worlds. When they arrived at Haven 6, the planet was already burning. Mara's voice came over the comms. "Focus on survivors. Get them out. No one left behind." Kael'tor took a shuttle and flew low over the surface, guiding people to escape pods. Fires raged everywhere. The air was full of dust and falling metal. He spotted a group of Dominion soldiers firing on civilians. But when he landed, something unexpected happened. The soldiers stopped. Their leader, helmet cracked, lowered his weapon. You're helping us?" he asked in disbelief. Kael'tor looked at him. "Yes. Humanity taught me something. Mercy doesn't choose sides." The alien's weapon dropped to the ground. He turned and... The morning sky over New Terra was calm, too calm. A golden sunrise painted the horizon, and for a moment the colony looked peaceful. Children played in the fields, farmers repaired domes, and traders spoke of rebuilding again. But deep beneath the surface, inside a command bunker, Captain Mara Salas stood before a massive holographic map. Red markers flashed across it, one after another, until the entire solar system was covered in crimson light. Lieutenant Hayes whispered, "Those can't all be enemy ships." But they were. The Dominion Armada had entered human space. Not a small fleet, but thousands of warships stretching across the stars like a dark storm. Kael'tor stared in silence, his blue skin pale under the bunker's lights. "That's the entire Dominion military," he said softly. "They're not coming for a planet. They're coming for everything." Mara clenched her jaw. "Then this is it," she said quietly. "The day the galaxy changes. High above Earth, Dominion ships emerged from warp space, massive spiked cruisers, their hulls glowing like burning coal. At the center of the Armada stood the Harbinger, Jalor's personal flagship, a fortress the size of a moon. From its command bridge, Jalor watched the blue planet slowly turn below. "So this is the human homeworld," he said, voice full of hate, "the birthplace of their disease." His second-in-command asked, "Orders, sir?" Jalor smiled cruelly. "Burn it until mercy screams." The command was sent. Millions of plasma lances charged. On Earth, alarms blared in every city. Defense grids powered up and ancient bunkers opened for the first time in centuries. From orbit, old satellites awoke, transmitting one message across the system. "This is Earth Command. All colonies, all ships, stand by for Defense Code Solace 9. That message reached New Terra, Mars, Titan, and every surviving human outpost. Even outcast ships, smugglers, and exiles heard it, and one by one they answered. Across the stars, lights began to move. Fleets that had vanished long ago, silent outposts, forgotten cruisers, and old ships with rusted hulls and all powered up. Humanity was waking up. In the bunker, Hayes looked up as the signal confirmation came through. "Captain, every colony is answering the call. Even the Mars Foundry is online again. We have thousands of ships ready." Mara exhaled slowly. "Then we stand together." Kael'tor stepped forward. "My people will fight with you. The Dominion calls this mercy a disease. We'll show them how powerful it can be." Mara smiled faintly. "Then let's give them a cure they'll never forget." Moments later, the Human Alliance fleet jumped into the Sol system. Thousands of ships, big and small, filled space between Earth and the Dominion Armada. Jalor looked up from his throne as his sensors filled with new contacts. "Impossible," he hissed. "They don't have this many ships left." "They do now," a voice said over open comms. "Captain Mara's." Her hologram appeared before every Dominion ship, calm and steady. "You came to destroy compassion," she said. "But compassion is not weak. It built us, it saved us, and now it will defend us, Jalor roared. Fire! The void exploded. The first minutes of the battle for Earth were pure chaos. Plasma beams cut through fleets like lightning and human ships burned. But they didn't retreat. Old Earth dreadnoughts, relics from forgotten wars, unleashed volleys that tore through Dominion cruisers. Fighters swarmed around massive carriers, diving into enemy lines with suicidal bravery. Every human pilot fought with one purpose: to protect what still mattered. Kael'tor's squadron covered the Solace II, blasting through enemy drones. His voice came through static. They're surrounding you, Mara.
Pull back!
But Mara's reply was calm. Not yet. We still have civilians on the surface. The Dominion fleet rained destruction down on Earth's cities, but every time they targeted civilians, human ships threw themselves in the way. Dozens of captains died shielding the planet. Their final transmissions full of pride. For Earth, for mercy. Hours passed. Space became a graveyard of fire and debris. On the Harbinger, Jalur watched in disbelief as human ships kept coming, crippled, burning, but still fighting. They should have fallen by now, he growled.
Why don't they stop?
One of his officers whispered. Because they're not fighting for power, sir. They're fighting for something we don't understand. Jalur raised his blade and struck the officer down. Then they'll die for it. Suddenly alarms blared across Dominion ships. Something massive appeared behind the human lines. A single dark warship with no known ID. Its hull shimmered black, reflecting no light. The signal code it transmitted was ancient, older than the Dominion itself. Hayes gasped as he read the name. Captain, it's the Ark of Dawn. Mara froze. That ship was lost 2 centuries ago. But it's here, Hayes said. And it's human. The mysterious vessel opened its massive hangars. From within, thousands of small drones poured out, silent, white machines that formed glowing shields around the entire fleet. Jalor's firepower crashed against the shields and broke like waves on stone. Mara whispered. They came back. On the Ark's bridge, an elderly admiral appeared on the broadcast. To every human and ally, hold the line. The Ark stands with you. He looked directly at Jalor's camera. You call mercy weakness. Let's test that theory. Then the Ark fired. A single beam of pure white energy shot forward, not to destroy but to disable. One by one, Dominion ships went dark, their power drained, their weapons silenced. Even the Harbinger trembled. Jalor screamed, "What is this?" The Admiral's voice echoed. Humanity learned compassion, but we also learned restraint. You forced us to use both. As Dominion systems shut down, their soldiers stared at screens filled with static. Some began to cry. Others laid down their weapons. Across the fleet, chaos turned into surrender. Jalor, furious and desperate, tried to fire one last shot at Earth, but Mara's ship appeared in front of him, blocking the blast. The Solace II shattered, saving the planet. Her final transmission came through the static. Compassion never dies. Hours later, the fires faded. Dominion fleets retreated, broken and silent. Earth was scarred but alive. The galaxy had witnessed the impossible. Humans had defended mercy itself and won. Kael'tor landed among the ruins, his face streaked with ash and tears. She did it, he whispered. She saved us all. All across the stars, alien races rose in protest against tyranny. Compassion was no longer a weakness when it was the new power that united the galaxy. The day the galaxy changed was not the day Earth won a war, but the day mercy became stronger than fear. Centuries passed. The fires of the Great War faded into history, and the galaxy rebuilt itself under a new banner, the Coalition of Worlds. On the capital planet Elira Prime, a vast city of light stretched from horizon to horizon. In the center stood the Hall of Memory, a shining monument where every race came to honor those who had fallen, and those who had saved them. Inside that hall, under a tall glass dome showing the stars above, a historian named Dr. Saran Vek stood before a crowd of thousands, aliens of every kind, even children born long after the war ended. Behind him, a giant hologram came to life, showing old, cracked footage of a woman standing on a human ship's bridge. Her name appeared below the image, Captain Mara Solis, the heart of Earth. The crowd fell silent. Dr. Vek began to speak in a calm voice. Many of you know her as a hero, but few understand why the galaxy still fears what she stood for. He turned to the hologram, showing images of burning planets, dying fleets, and shattered cities. Centuries ago, the Dominion sought to erase humanity, not because of their weapons, but because of their mercy. They feared something they could not control: compassion. The aliens listened quietly. Some were moved. Some looked nervous. Compassion, he continued, was never seen as a strength before humans came. Empires believed power ruled the stars, but then came those who healed enemies, who risked everything to save even those who had tried to destroy them. He paused, then played an old recording. Mara's voice echoed through the hall, faint and full of static. If kindness makes us weak, then let us be weak forever, because that weakness will save the stars. The hall went silent again. Outside the Hall of Memory, the galaxy was peaceful. Planets traded freely, old enemies now lived as neighbors, and war had become only a story. But deep in the outer sectors, beyond the reach of the Coalition, strange things were stirring again. A forgotten Dominion warship drifted through a dead system. Inside, its AI core flickered to life. The memory of Jalor's voice whispered through its circuits. Fear them. Fear the humans. They will end everything. The AI sent a signal into the void, a warning to any who might rise again. But that warning never reached its target. A small human scout ship intercepted it, downloaded it, and quietly erased it. The pilot, a young officer named Eli Solis, descendant of Captain Mara, stared at the data with calm eyes. "They're still afraid of us," he said softly. Even after all these years, he turned off the screen. "Good." Back on Elira Prime, Dr. Vec continued his speech. "Many of you ask, why does the universe still fear humans? After centuries of peace, after saving billions, why does that fear remain?" He walked across the stage, his voice echoing through the hall. "It is because humans never forgot. They remember what it means to suffer. They remember pain, loss, and hope, and that memory gives their compassion power, a power no weapon can match." He raised a hand toward the stars shown on the dome. When the Dominion fell, humanity could have ruled the galaxy, but they didn't.